Hello, I'm Michael, and if you're here, it's because you're as attracted to fear as I am. In a small town in the interior of Brazil, known only as Monte das Almas, Leticia, a young 29-year-old architect, decides to take a vacation away from the urban chaos. After months of exhaustion working on a big project, she rents a charming Airbnb on a secluded colonial farm, surrounded by mountains and with an impressive view of a winding river. The property description promised tranquility, historic charm, and comforting silence. Upon arrival, Leticia is greeted by Dona Irachema, a friendly and mysterious elderly woman who takes care of the Airbnb. The house, built in the 19th century, has mud walls, worn wooden windows, and rustic furniture that seems to hold stories from another time. However, there is something disturbing in the air. The smell of mustiness mixes with that of unlit candles, and Leticia notices that all the doors have locks on the outside, as if they had been used to lock someone or something. While exploring the space, Leticia notices that the house is full of details that were not in the photos in the ad. Paintings with old portraits of people with stern expressions, scratch marks on the walls, and most strangely, an old cracked mirror in the bedroom. Main building, with Latin inscriptions engraved on its frame. That night, alone, Leticia begins to hear distant sounds of footsteps, even though she knows she is the only guest on the property. A feeling of discomfort grows, but she tries to convince herself that it's just her imagination. However, as she turns off the lights, a shadow appears to move in the corner of the room, reflected in the mirror, although nothing is there when she looks directly. A mystery sets in. Something or someone seems to be watching. The next morning, Leticia tries to ignore the restlessness of the previous night and decides to explore the surroundings. Dona Iracema finds her on the balcony and, enigmatically, gives her a set of old keys, suggesting that she use them if she needs to protect herself. The elderly woman does not give any further explanations, leaving Leticia confused and a little apprehensive. While walking through the land, Leticia finds ruins of an old warehouse covered in vines and moss. There, she feels the atmosphere weighing down, as if the air were thicker. In a corner, buried under dry leaves, she discovers an old black-covered diary with yellowed pages. The diary appears to belong to a young woman named Mariana, who lived on the farm in the early 20th century. The first pages describe the peaceful life in the countryside, but as Leticia reads further, she notices a tone of increasing despair. Mariana narrates inexplicable events, voices whispering her name, doors that locked themselves, and shadows that seem to have a life of their own. That same afternoon, Leticia decides to investigate more about the history of the farm. While visiting the town's central square, she enters the small community library and discovers an old article in which the farm was described as haunted. The story goes that the property had been the scene of a tragedy. Mariana and her family mysteriously disappeared, and only the mirror in the master bedroom was found intact, although it was cracked. It is said that the mirror was a cursed relic brought by a foreign traveler years before. Leticia returns to the farm with her heart racing, feeling increasingly connected to the mystery. During the night, sounds begin to intensify. A muffled cry echoes through the corridors, followed by loud knocks on doors that do not move. In the bedroom, the mirror seems to come to life, reflecting images that are not in the room. A female figure, dressed in white and with a pale face, appears in the glass, observing Leticia. Terrified, Leticia tries to leave the house, but realizes that all the doors and windows are inexplicably locked. The only way out is to return to the mirror, which now seems to attract your attention as if it were a portal. Dona Irachema's voice echoes in her mind, remembering the words about the keys. Leticia finds the source that the elderly woman gave her and starts trying each one on the old locks spread around the house. Some don't fit, but a golden key, engraved with an eye symbol, appears to match the cupboard in the attic. In the attic, among cobwebs and dust, she finds a locked box. When he opens it, he discovers Mariana's personal objects, a porcelain doll, a hairbrush, and a never-used candle. But it's the last item that makes her heart stop, a handwritten letter warning her to never look directly in the mirror at midnight. The tension increases. Letitia feels that something or someone doesn't want her to leave the house alive. Night falls, bringing a thicker darkness than in previous days. Letitia decides to follow the advice in Mariana's letter and avoid the mirror at all costs. She locks the bedroom door and turns off all the lights, trying to ignore the noises and murmurs that now seem much closer. At midnight, however, absolute silence takes over the house, creating a vacuum of sound so strange that it makes Letitia's ears ring. A loud knock on the bedroom door breaks the silence. The knocking becomes frantic, as if someone is trying to force their way in. Letitia stands still, holding the golden key tightly in her hands. Suddenly, the mirror in the room begins to shine with a dull light, revealing the female figure again. This time, she's not just watching, she's gesturing, pointing at Letitia with an expression of despair. Convinced that the mirror holds answers, Letitia decides to confront her fear. He approaches slowly, his heart racing, and tries to decipher the words murmured by the figure. Mariana seems to beg Letitia to take a closer look, but the young architect hesitates, remembering the warning in the letter. At that moment, an invisible force pushes Letitia against the glass, making it shudder. When she touches the mirror, she feels a piercing cold and a feeling of emptiness, as if something is being ripped out of her. Suddenly, Letitia is sucked into the mirror, falling into a dark and distorted environment where everything seems to be backwards. The walls of the house are stained with blood, and echoes of screams resound in the air. There she finds Mariana, or what's left of her, a ghostly figure with empty eyes and a sinister smile. Mariana reveals that she has been trapped there for over a century, and that the mirror is a trap cursed to attract new souls. Desperate, Letitia tries to negotiate her way out, but Mariana explains that there is only one way to escape: find and destroy the object that caused the curse. The figure points to a room within the reflection, where Letitia finds a black candle, identical to the one in the attic box. When she reaches for the candle, the reflection begins to shatter, as if space itself is collapsing. In the real world, the house begins to shake. Donna Irachema appears supernaturally in the reflected room, murmuring that the cycle must continue. The elderly woman was never just a caretaker, but rather a guardian spirit who perpetuates the curse by attracting unsuspecting visitors. Letitia realizes that she was carefully chosen to be the next victim. With little time and the shadows of the house approaching, Letitia must decide: destroy the candle and risk her life, or accept the fate of remaining trapped in the mirror like Mariana. Letitia takes a deep breath, trying to control the panic that threatens to overwhelm her. The walls of the reflection begin to contort, as if reality itself is being swallowed by something larger and darker. The figure of Mariana watches in silence, while Donna Irachema, with eyes shining with malevolence, murmurs words in an ancient language, fueling the chaos. Letitia understands that her only chance is to destroy the black candle, the core of the curse. But when he tries to touch her, an excruciating pain runs through his body, as if something is trying to stop him from doing so. Mariana approaches, her appearance oscillating between a frightened young woman and a monstrous entity. "You don't understand," she whispers. "If you destroy the candle, it will be released. But something much worse will be released." The dilemma weighs on Letitia. The candle appears to pulsate, emitting an opaque light that attracts and repels it at the same time. She reflects on what she has seen so far: the house, the trapped souls, the desperate messages left by other victims. Everything points to an endless cycle of pain. Letitia realizes that her fight is not only for her own survival, but also for the release of all the souls trapped there. With a tremendous effort, Letitia takes the candle, ignoring the pain that consumes her. At this moment, the space around him seems to collapse. Mariana shouts for her to stop, while Donna Irachema tries to pull her back, saying, "You don't know what you're invoking." But Leticia, full of determination, lights the candle with a match that was in her pants pocket, a reminder of a fireplace lit on the first night in the house. The fire grows quickly, illuminating the entire dark space within the reflection. Leticia feels an invisible force trying to push her back towards the mirror, while screams and whispers echo in all directions. However, something unexpected happens. Mariana begins to change. Her ghostly appearance dissolves, revealing a young woman with teary eyes. "Thank you," Mariana murmurs before disappearing in a beam of light. Leticia understands that Mariana was never the real enemy. She was a prisoner, just like every other soul. When the candle finally burns out, Leticia is thrown back into the real world, landing on the bedroom floor. The mirror, now just an empty frame, begins to crack and disintegrate into thousands of pieces. However, something is wrong. The house seems to vibrate with a new, darker energy. Donna Irachema, now a demonic figure, appears at the door, laughing. "You managed to break the cycle, but you opened the door to something much worse." The ground begins to give way, revealing endless darkness. Leticia gets up with difficulty, looking for a way out, but all the windows and doors are locked again. The only thing left is the set of keys in his pocket. With increasing desperation, she tries one key after another, hearing Irachema's laugh echo through the house. Finally, a silver key unlocks the main entrance door. Leticia runs outside, but when she looks back, the house is on fire, consumed by a black light that seems to devour everything. She falls to her knees, exhausted, as the first rays of the sun appear over the horizon. But something inside her changed. While trying to catch her breath, Leticia feels a strange cold in her chest. When he looks at his hands, he notices that they are shaking, and they are covered in black dust that shines in the sun. The days that follow are a blur for Leticia. She quickly leaves Monte das Almas, vowing never to return. However, even after leaving the farm, she cannot shake the feeling of being watched. The black dust, which seemed harmless, now appears in other places, on the clothes she wears, in the rearview mirror of her car, and even in the steam in the bathroom when she takes a shower. Back at her apartment in the city, Leticia tries to return to normal life, but the nights become increasingly disturbing. She begins to hear familiar whispers, identical to those at the farm. Sounds of footsteps resound in the hallway, and the reflection of shadows appears on smooth surfaces, even when she is alone. One night, while lying down, she suddenly wakes up. In the corner of his room, the wardrobe mirror seems to glow with a pale light. Reluctantly, she approaches and sees something that makes her freeze. The reflection of the room is different, as if it were a distorted version of the place she is in. In the center of the scene, Donna Irachema appears, smiling with deep black eyes. "You didn't break the curse," her voice says, echoing in the room. "Just changed the host." Leticia's panic reaches its peak when she realizes that her own image in the mirror is acting independently, smiling back at her in a disturbing way. The reflection raises its hand, pressing it against the glass, and Leticia feels an icy pressure on her chest, as if something is trying to pull her back into the mirror world. She tries to escape, but the bedroom door closes with a bang, and the environment around her begins to deform. Leticia hears voices coming from the mirror, and the figures of trapped souls begin to appear, each one more terrifying than the last. Mariana is there, but now her expression is different, cold, distant, as if she has accepted her role as part of the curse. At the moment of greatest tension, Leticia remembers the set of keys, which she had impulsively put in her bag when leaving the farm. Desperate, she searches among the keys, believing that one of them can free her. When she finds the golden key with the eye symbol, she realizes that it is the only one that seems to glow as if it were alive. Without thinking twice, Leticia turns the key towards the mirror. The glass shatters with a deafening sound, and a blast of wind and darkness fills the room. For a moment, she believes she has finally broken the cycle. But when the dust settles, Leticia realizes something is wrong. The room looks exactly the same, but the objects are arranged slightly differently. The colors are cooler, and the air has a metallic smell. She runs to the window and, looking outside, sees a landscape she doesn't recognize. Deserted streets, ruined buildings, and a perpetually gray sky. So, she understands. It did not destroy the curse. She has been transferred to a new domain, a place where the house no longer exists, but the spirit of the curse reigns supreme. And now, Leticia is part of it. From the broken reflection of the mirror, Donna Irachema's laugh appears. "Welcome to the true Mount of Souls," says the voice, as darkness begins to swallow everything around. Leticia walks through the new world that now surrounds her. The landscape is desolate, lifeless, but full of echoes of suffering. The sky remains grey, without sun, and an icy wind blows constantly, carrying murmurs that speak in forgotten languages. The city she sees in the distance appears to be a ghostly version of a place that was once vibrant, but is now abandoned and distorted by time and the curse. The young woman realizes that she is alone. There is no sign of other people or living souls, just shadows moving in the corners of your peripheral vision. Donna Irachema's laugh echoes occasionally, but there are no more appearances of her or Mariana. Leticia understands that now she is part of the essence of this place, and that is what makes it even more frightening. She is not a prisoner of an entity, but of the environment itself, an eternal cycle that shapes itself according to fear and despair of those who fall into it. As the days pass, Leticia tries to explore and find a way out. Each path seems to take her back to the starting point, as if the space were folding in on itself. The only constant thing is the presence of broken mirrors scattered throughout the scene. In each piece of glass, she sees different reflections of herself, some crying, others smiling sinisterly, and others simply watching with empty eyes. One night, while resting in an abandoned building that appears to have once been a hotel, she hears a familiar voice coming from one of the mirrors. It's Mariana, who now seems more human and less ghostly. "You can't escape," she says, her tone almost resigned, "but you can decide how to live here. I fought for years, but it only held me back even more. Maybe you'll achieve something I couldn't." Leticia asks what this means, but Mariana disappears before answering. Alone again, she reflects on the words and realizes that her only choice is to confront her fear and accept the nature of the curse. She decides to return to the nearest mirror and observes her reflection, this time without looking away. The reflection transforms, showing a door that didn't exist before. Leticia hesitates, but knows that this is the only chance. As she turns the knob, she's surrounded by a bright light that momentarily blinds her. When the light dissipates, she finds herself in a familiar place, the Monte das Almas house, but everything is different. The air is clean, the furniture is dusty but intact, and there are no signs of shadows or voices. Upon leaving the house, Leticia realizes that time has not passed. The sun is rising, exactly as on the day she arrived. However, she feels something is deeply wrong. People in town don't recognize her and act as if she is a stranger. When she tries to explain what happened, she realizes that her voice is not heard. She is invisible, a ghost wandering among the living. Leticia understands the devastating truth. She did not escape the curse, she just changed her role. Now she is the new guardian of the house, destined to attract and trap other unwary souls in the eternal cycle. The last scene shows Leticia on the balcony of the house, staring at the horizon as the first lights of the night appear. Behind her, the mirror in the main room begins to glow again, waiting for the next visitor.